Goeiedag! Good day, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And yes, I always say goeiedag when the video goes up after midnight South African time. Midnight South African time, just for the record, is 8 in the morning here in Brisbane, Australia. Now, we have some good news. There are now an extra 2,000 visas available to skilled workers looking to live and work in regional Australia, says immigration expert at Sable International, Sam Hopwood. Get that? Regional Australia. This is the area where communities are shutting down because the kids are going into the cities, and now they're trying to replenish the community. This is why the visa opportunities are there in the regional parts of Australia. Hopwood said that the regional visas have opened up to help combat the number of immigrants to popular cities such as Sydney and Melbourne, which I've just said. This means more companies based in regional Australia will be looking to attract skilled migrants to help boost these areas and fill skilled positions. Now, like all the other videos where I alert my subscribers to what's happening, you guys have got to go and do the legwork, okay? I don't have the time to take on individual cases and go and research and do this sort of stuff. All I'm doing is putting the information out there. You need to do the Googling, okay? You'll find those little gems. It's up to you, okay? This is your life. Getting back to this, Hopwood said, contrary to what most people believe, regional Australia is not all bush and outback. Over 8 million people currently live in these regions, which are made up of small towns and small cities. Following the increase in the regional visa cap, the government has also updated the list of areas that fall under regional Australia. The list of locations are, now, from my point of view, I'm gonna put it out, the best places to be, and then the worst places to be if you got the option of looking at getting a visa in Australia. Okay, number 1, I'm a Queenslander, and I have to tell you, I think Queensland is the finest place for any South African to come to. There's a huge South African community in places like Brisbane and out in the rural areas as well, but the weather here is just like South Africa. It's warm. Here in Brisbane we never get frost, okay, so we never get frost. It's got everything going for it. Fabulous, fabulous state. And then after Queensland, let me have a look. Okay, let me have a look. Where are the also-rans? Okay, I'm going to say, secondly, Victoria. Victoria, which is on the southern side of the east coast of Australia. And beautiful areas, lots of great rural areas. I mean, just a lovely place. Although you do have a lot of fires, okay, as we've experienced earlier this month in Victoria. And you also do have weather changes which can be quite dramatic in places like Melbourne, where they talk about having 3 different seasons in one day in that particular city. Number 3, New South Wales. Okay, now in this visa, this excludes Sydney. So forget about Sydney. This is really going into the hinterland, and there are some beautiful areas in Sydney, beautiful little towns, fabulous, fabulous place. Which now takes us to the also-rans. Northern Territory. The Northern Territory is, it's fantastic. It's a tropical area, lots of rain, smaller white population, if I can put it that way, but they've got some fabulous areas and really exotic areas when it comes to nature. And the only problem I have with the Northern Territory is that it's kind of starting to get that isolated sort of thing. The East Coast, you know, all the way from Brisbane all the way down to Melbourne, lots of communities, lots of stuff happening. Not so much in the Northern Territory, a little bit isolated. Okay, now after that, we're starting to really hit the hard part. Now Tasmania, also a lovely area. It's also a little bit isolated. It's that island off the east coast of, or south of the east coast of Australia. Hobart, lovely place. I mean, there's some lovely little communities in Tasmania. And all these places I'm talking about have got substantial South African communities in them. If you Google Australia, South African or expat South Africans forums and things like that, you'll find heaps of websites relating to this. And that's probably a good starting point, because if you talk to people on the ground who are in these little rural areas and say, hey, look, I'm a plumber, I'm an electrician, I'm da-da-da-da-da, that's going to be a lot more successful than sending me an email and saying, hey, can you find me a job in Australia? Believe me, because I'm just going to say no. Okay, now let's move on. After Tassie, now we're getting down to the bottom of the road. Okay, I have to say Western Australia next. Now, the reason Western Australia is so low on the radar as far as I'm concerned for South Africans, even though it has the highest population of South Africans in Australia, is because of two things. You just have to live there to experience what I'm talking about. Okay, you've seen the famous old hat with the corks hanging around your face because of flies? Yeah. Western Australia is the fly capital of Australia. It's just full of flies. They're a bloody pest, okay? They're just a bloody pest. And that's where the cork cap originated. Now, we do have flies here in Queensland, but nowhere near the volume that you have in Western Australia. I reckon you could put out a little dish or something that attracts flies, and within about 5 minutes you'd have enough flies to create a, if you liked fly dishes, to create a really big fly dish. Anyway, jokes aside, right at the bottom of this list is the Australian Capital Territory. It's a tiny little place which is kind of made up for Canberra and the politics and the politicians and all that sort of shit. So yeah, that's an area I would stay out of. But just going back through the list, Queensland definitely number one. And yeah, I'm a Queenslander, so I'm biased. Just get over it. Okay. Now let's continue with this visa situation. The types of skills that are in demand vary from region to region. David Coleman, Australia's Minister for Immigration, Citizenship, Migration Services and Multicultural Affairs, said there are over 60,000 job vacancies in regional Australia. 60,000. Now, if you have a skill in South Africa, it's a no-brainer, guys. You've got to just go, and if you want to get out of South Africa and come to Australia, you just got to grab this with both hands, because there have been hundreds of thousands of South African families that have done this before you, and they could not be happier. Occupations in demand are listed on the government's skilled occupation list. Now, what I'll do is I'll put a link to that skilled occupation list directly below this video. Visas. You can move to Australia on a skilled work regional provisional visa, subclass 491, or a skilled employer-sponsored regional provisional visa, said Hopwood. Okay, what is a skilled work regional provisional visa, subclass 491? This visa lets you live and work in a designated regional area in Australia for 5 years. You can bring your family with you and leave and re-enter Australia as many times as you want while your visa remains valid. So you can come over here with your family and you can fly back to South Africa to sort things out while you're actually establishing yourself here in Australia. Can't get better than that. To be eligible for this visa, you must, okay, now this is, don't forget that thing I always say, have your documentation together, because the South African Home Affairs are in chaos. Here's the list. Have an occupation on the skilled occupation list. That's a no-brainer. Obtain sponsorship from an eligible relative or state or territory government. Be under the age of 45. Now, the age limit is a huge issue here in Australia. There's only one industry I know that they're seeking people that goes above that 45-year-old age limit, and that's horticulture. And I've put a video up in the last few weeks where it's got all the information and all the contacts. If you're in horticulture and you're looking for a job, they will accept you at the age of 50 here in Australia, which gives you that 5-year buffer. You have to meet the points requirement. Now, this is a famous points requirement that Donald Trump is talking about bringing into the United States from America, and the UK government are talking about bringing into the UK. The points basically either say yay or nay. You get in or you don't get in. Meet the English language requirements. Now, most white South Africans wouldn't have a problem with that. The skilled work regional visa works on a point system, and you'll need to meet and obtain the required points to qualify for a visa. You receive points for meeting the following requirements. I'm going to give you the points and the skill, and then you can consider whether you're going to actually meet it. 10 points for having a skilled spouse or de facto partner. 15 points if you're nominated by a state or territory or sponsored by a family member that resides in regional Australia. 10 points if you have certain science, technology, engineering and mathematics or STEM qualifications. 10 points if you do not have a spouse, de facto partner. 5 points if you have a spouse, de facto partner who meets the English language requirement. The visa can lead to permanent residency once you've lived in Australia for the required period and meet the qualifying criteria. And once again, guys, you're going to have to do the research, okay? I'm just letting you know that this is happening. Skilled employer-sponsored regional provisional visa, subclass 494. The subclass 494 visa allows you to live and work in Australia for 5 years. To be eligible for this visa, you must be nominated by an Australian employer and work for this employer when you move to regional Australia. You must also have an occupation that's on the eligible skilled occupation list and satisfy the English language requirement. Alright guys, please remember to subscribe to be kept informed. Ring the bell for the updates. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, stay safe.